Third part. The Chancellor's body reunited with his head some 20 meters in the air, despite the lance piercing clear through the chest. Chancellor Cornelius smiled. Do what you will, Lord Greylancer. This body is nothing more than an illusion with physical substance, which is why you do not see me submerged in my usual atropic fluid. Your lance is useless against me. This, on the other hand. Sticking a hand in the pocket of his robe, the Chancellor produced a small glass bottle. A shot rang out. The bullet blew off the Chancellor's wrinkled hand, holding the glass bottle, sending it skittering across the floor. Well now, this is a skilled servant, said the Chancellor, glancing at Gallagher with his rifle at the ready. Alas, such shallow wit. Did you not see that the glass bottle was real? Now you shall go to hell, smelling the pleasant scent contained within. Greylancer felt his knees go weak. He crumpled to the ground, losing his grip on his lance. A sweet nectar-like scent began to fill the cavernous space. The scent brought down even the half-human Gallagher. The liquid that had been sealed inside the bottle emitted the sweetest, most evil scent. One that would cause any noble to fall into a stupor. Now then, Chancellor Cornelius righted himself and, after withdrawing the lance tip from his chest, sidled next to where Greylancer lay. The Chancellor, of course, was but an illusion. He took out a white wooden stake and hammer from his pockets. Having physical substance, he was capable of handling solid objects. The old man pressed the stake against Greylancer's heart, and raised the hammer high over his head. A spike driven into the heart would surely send a noble even Greylancer to his death. Who would have guessed that such a mighty warrior would meet his end this way? No doubt Greylancer was as amazed. He was still conscious. It was his body that could not move. One greater noble would soon vanish from this moonlit world. The Chancellor brought down the hammer with all his might, and suddenly stopped in mid-swing. With an elegance defying his wizened face, the old man leapt 5 meters and landed in a low crouch, shooting a suspicious look at the stone coffin resting on the bronze altar. Stone grinding against stone, slowly the heavy lid of the coffin slid back. The lavish sarcophagus was supposed to contain only Merlin's mortal remains. But surely a corpse turned to dust had no hands with which to grip the sides of the coffin, nor a body to raise to a sitting position. The shadowy figure alighted from the coffin and fixed its grey eyes on the old noble. "Merlin," shouted Cornelius in disbelief. "Regretfully, no," answered the man. "I'm Shazam, a swordsman only recently serving under Lord Merlin. It is an honor, Chancellor Cornelius." "How dare you appear before me, human? Begone." "That will not do, I'm afraid. My master has tasked me with protecting the noble Greylancer," said the swordsman, glancing down at the warrior struggling still to regain his senses. There was a sound of steel rattling against steel as Shazam gripped the hilts of the 2 swords, strapped behind his back and lunged. The illusory Cornelius produced a sword of his own. Clang, clang, the swords rang out. "The sound of your sword betrays your skill," said the swordsman. "Best you leave your head at my feet." Chisholm, was it? Just how do you propose to behead this illusion before you? The swordsman answered quietly. Streda. No. Cornelius flinched. You practice. The old noble leapt back and hurled a stake. The second flash of steel, the sword in Chisholm's left hand, struck down the projectile. The first flash of steel, the sword in Chisholm's right hand, had sliced across Cornelius's neck before Cornelius could even see the blade. While the fall echoed across the cavernous chamber, Chisholm plunged his sword into the old noble's heart. After watching the man's body swirl and dissolve into thin air, like paint mixing into water, Chisholm ran to Greylancer's side. Are you all right? I will live. The effects of the evil incense is wearing off. I'm glad you'll recover. What has happened to Cornelius? The Chancellor has met his doom, answered Chisholm. But the man before you was an illusion. I possess the Strata skill. Greylancer arched a brow. I've heard of this skill developed to kill nobles. Is it effective against apparitions? Yes. The moment I struck down his apparition, his physical form, wherever it might have been, also took its last breath. Chisholm answered quietly, though with no small hint of pride. Suddenly he felt two icy daggers penetrate his body. Still lying on his side, Greylancer stared at the swordsman. Perhaps he wished to match swords with this noble. When Chisholm did not answer, he growled, Speak. Even in this circumstance, nay, any circumstance, Chisholm was never one to refuse a duel. Take on all comers. It was the cardinal rule of swordsmen. Seconds passed before he finally answered, I accept. Never mind, said Greylancer, shaking his head. You have already lost the battle of wills. Damn that Merling. Why did he order you inside the coffin? Surely he did not harbor a vendetta against me. That I do not know. Only that he was sure you would come, and that I was to come to your aid, if something should go awry. Awry indeed. What did you know, Merling? Greylancer jumped to his feet like a spring-action toy, and approached Gallagher, who was also beginning to stir. He commanded, After me, and strode toward the way out of the catacombs, watching the gunner writhing as he struggled against the effects of the evil incense. Chisholm let out a sigh, and with heavy steps went to Gallagher's aid, page break indicated by a small cross. Leaving the troop withdrawal to Eunice and the others, Greylancer rushed back to the capital with the gunner Gallagher in tow. The western sky rippled with the last traces of daylight. The noble night was just beginning. Greylancer hurried directly home. Though the blinds and shutters were shut, a faint light pervaded the mansion. The property was not shrouded in complete darkness. This was another peculiar noble custom. Aside from their coffins, the nobility did not demand absolute darkness from the rest of the world. Many, like Merling, elected to recreate night by simulating the moon and stars. Laria, Greylancer shouted upon entering the parlor. 3 shadows appeared. They were guard-droids taxed with protecting their masters, while the vampire slept in the light of day. Is something the matter? Asked the humanoid steward, to which Greylancer replied with a swing of his lance. The steward and the guard droids were sent hurtling across the room, where they crashed in a pile, sparks flying until they fell motionless. Clear the way, worthless machines. Greylancer headed for the grand staircase, whereupon a voice called down, "Didn't anyone teach you that a warrior must always keep his wits about him?" Atop the gently curving staircase stood Laria, wearing a turquoise gown. "You wear it too, Laria?" he asked, referring to the time-deceiving incense. Laria had invented it. "Courtesy is golden even with whom we are most familiar. Silence is golden even at home. Isn't that so, brother?" "I have something I must ask." Greylancer kicked the ground. The sight of the giant easily weighing 100 kilograms, lofting upward, might have even been called beautiful. When he landed at the top of the staircase, however, Laria was on her way down. Taking the stairs one step at a time, she appeared to glide down in one fluid motion. "You dare mock your brother?" Greylancer jumped over the railing after her and landed at the foot of the staircase. Brother and sister faced off in the center of the parlor like mortal enemies. I was very nearly turned to ash at Merlin's castle. I smelt something, a familiar fragrance similar to the time-deceiving incense. Laria's face turned ashen. "How can—" "Brother, are you certain?" "No questions, Laria. The answer I seek is simple. Who else is in possession of the time-deceiving incense?" As might be expected of the sister of the noble Greylancer, Laria quickly regained her wits. "Verosa. He'd asked to make some enhancements to it." Chapter 9 End.